here, I rise here to represent the federal opposition. I am Tony Abbott. I stand before you to address the asylum seeker issue, which has been poorly handled by the Labor Party. We believe in equal opportunity for Australians and the encouragement and facilitation of wealth so that we all can enjoy the highest possible standard of living, health, education and social justice. In proposing a way forward, our guiding light has been to find practical ways in which to advance the Australian national interest in achieving progress towards the goal of more effective procedures towards the asylum seeker issue. During the 12 years that the late Liberal Party was in power under the Howard government, 3,544 asylum seekers entered the country. This year alone, 7,120 have now entered the country. This means that since Labor has been in power, 21,842 have entered the country. Last weekend, another 6 boats, all in total adding up to 552 asylum seekers have now arrived at our doorstep. 2012 is the worst year to date. Over the past 20 years, the Coalition has demonstrated the resolve, policy and commitment required to stop the boats. We have saved lives and protected the integrity of our immigration system. And when elected, we will do it again. Since 2008, Labor has only focused on the processing and resettlement of asylum seekers and not deterrence and border security. Because of this, they have now become their own pull factor and are in fact the magnet now. Over the past 4 years, the Labor government have failed to demonstrate their resolve on border protection, failed to stop the growing number of boats, failed to stop people smugglers and failed to save lives. People smugglers continue to dispatch boats at a rate of more than 1 a day as Labor continues to drag their feet. Literally every day that Labor fails to act is another day that people smugglers are taking advantage of their weakness and lack of resolve to put more people onto leaky boats for perilous journeys ahead to Australia. The government will not embrace measures employed by the Howard government that have successfully stopped the boats, including denying permanent residency for successful claims and turning boats back where it is safe to do so. So yes, we need to change the policies today, but to be sure we also need to change the government. We need an election solution. In July 2008, there were only 6 people detained on Christmas Island, but in August 2008, the Labor government began to roll back the strong border protection that it inherited, and now they have 2,362 people detained on Christmas Island. We have seen the Labor government's efforts fumbling to open and manage offshore processing centres on East Timor, Nauru and Malaysia. These attempts have been incompetent and lacked commitment, only creating distrust and damaging our relations with our regional neighbours. Because of this, Labor have lost all credibility and authority when it comes to border security and protecting Australia's borders. After 5 years in office, if Labor still cannot fulfil the role of the Commonwealth and adequately protect our borders, then they should call an election. Nothing is going to change until the message coming from the government unambiguously says they are prepared to use everything at their resource and disposal to stop people smuggling. The people smugglers will not give up their insidious trade, especially when they know that this government always chooses the path of least resistance. The people smugglers continue their daily ferry service courtesy of the Labor Party's failed policies. A government that had the ability to deal with challenges effectively would acknowledge this unprecedented influx and resolve to change direction to address it. But sadly, the Gillard government shows no signs of being able to manage the challenges facing Australia on border protection or any other issue. Labor has created this problem, yet they are unable to manage it. The sure way to alleviate this situation is with a stringent offshore processing policy. The arrival of the latest boat with 117 people on board is the 100th illegal boat to arrive this financial year in less than 100 days. Over 6,300 people have now arrived since the 1st of July, which is almost 1,000 more than Treasurer Wayne Swan budgeted for the entire year. It is clear that spontaneous boat arrivals are dissuaded by public opinion. This is most likely due to the realisation that onshore processing in conjunction with mandatory detention does nothing to stop boats. There is one alternative solution, and that is offshore processing. A regional framework with our neighbouring countries is required. We also need to manage relations with countries from which the vessels have departed. They must be prepared to take the boats back. Labour's numerous failed attempts to initiate change is an obstacle affecting their credibility, which in turn is damaging Australia's prospects of forming such an alliance and framework. There is also the issue of missing documentation when it comes to proof of identity. The Coalition is concerned about the subjective nature of determining the refugee status of asylum seekers who are unable to present identity documentation. In such cases, under the Liberal government, there will be a presumption against awarding refugee status under Section 91W of the Immigration Act. The Minister may draw any reasonable inference unfavourable to the applicant's identity, nationality or citizenship. Basically, the Minister can reach a reasonable conclusion to deny entry based on any unfavourable information regarding the person's identity. With Liberal in government, we will reverse the magnet effect Labor has brought on Australia. We can no longer accept every boat that arrives at our doorstep. Yes, we are entitled to take in refugees escaping religious, ethical persecution, war and political opinion, but the reality is the majority of asylum seekers are recognised to not be refugees. A life in Australia is just that much more preferable to one in their own country, and our lenient border security rules are being taken advantage of by those who want easy access into our country. Meanwhile, we're accepting every boat that shows up at our doorstep because it's dangerous to send them back. The question is, how are we to determine what measures to take in managing the entry of people into the country who mainly just want to get in for reasons other than sheer desperation? It's dangerous, but the judgment is of the asylum seeker to make as to whether the journey is worth it. And I dare say that most journeys are embarked on due to lack of education and manipulating people smugglers out to get money from these poor people. Offshore processing will deter illegal boat arrivals because they will not be taken in without formal validation processes. They will be turned away. Boats have been successfully sent back to Indonesian waters despite contention regarding safety. If we do not look after our national interests, our country will be at a disadvantage, and we won't be in a position to fulfill our obligations as global citizens. Ultimately, deterrence and stringent offshore processing policy will incur effective results. However, we cannot make plans for an innovative future with resources that we currently don't have. As of now, the government is exceeding $7 million each year on detention centres alone, and over $2 million for the average cost per detainee. Australia's detention centres are overcrowded because processing is taking too long, and Labor is putting all our money and resources to solutions that just don't work. The annual cost of detaining asylum seekers is expenditure this country simply cannot afford. It is a hopeless prospect to waste our resources to expand our detention centres. This will only give incentive to people smugglers, and eventually, Australia will not have the funds or infrastructure to cater to the demands of any asylum seekers. We need to focus on a better processing operation for asylum seekers that are in our detention centres right now. We need to pool our resources into processing them faster. This way we can promptly determine who to integrate into our country and who to send back. This procedure is cost effective and means less time spent in detention centres for asylum seekers. As Liberals, our primary concern is the welfare of Australians. It is our intention to invest our taxpayers' dollars in infrastructure that our communities need. I would like to address the Labor Party as I say that they have got it wrong. How are we to cater to the needs of outsiders when we can't attend to the needs of our own country? The millions of dollars Labor is investing in this issue is affecting our what was once strong economy. The healthcare in this country is a disgrace, and the Labor Party's neglecting of such issues is disreputable and shameful. Our first priority is to create a productive and sustainable population growth path for Australia. Our focus is on maintaining a strong economy so that we can preserve the quality of life we as Australians enjoy. We need to ensure we defend the sovereignty of our nation's borders, assets and values. This party will address the issue of asylum seekers by implementing effective procedures that will drastically reduce the amount of refugees illegally trying to enter the country. But we will achieve this goal with the Australian population as our first concern, addressing their needs before those who are not citizens of this country. We do not deny that Australia needs to honour its decision to become a signatory to the Refugees Convention. We just believe there is a better way to process refugees and ultimately to manage this country.